Hello, everyone. Today, we've got the absolute pleasure of being joined by Dez Carson, who is the co-founder and CEO of Land Scout Pro. Dez, how are you doing today?
Hello, hello. I am doing well. Thank you for asking. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's an absolute pleasure. Long time coming. We're really excited to have you on. And without further ado, let's dive straight into it, Des. How about that?
All right, let's go.
Amazing. Let's do it. So, Des, if you can start off by telling us a little bit about your background, perhaps the early years of your career and your journey getting to the position you're in. And then if you can tell us a bit about the business, and what that does for the people that don't really know.
Awesome. So I was trying to get that glare out of my glasses, but rock with it. Um, so I started off in real estate about 10 years ago as a processor and doing residential mortgage loans. So I was putting together the underwriting packages right from the loan officers and then kind of walking them through to closing, getting them approved by underwriting. And I did that for about 8 9 years, about 8 years. And then I got recruited by the SBA. And so I was the loan officer for them for about a year or two. And once I left there, I got recruited by a commercial real estate lender. And that was where it kind of merged both of the worlds together. It merged kind of that processing from the single family residential and then also combining the knowledge and base that I got from working for the SBA. So I was able to kind of merge both worlds where I was doing the commercial development lending. So I was the director of processing for a commercial development lender. And yeah, when I was there, I decided that I wanted to branch out, that I wanted to get into development myself. And the best way to me when you're doing something like that is to add value in the space that you want to go. And so for me, that was, assisting in the land acquisition and pre development consultations because that's really what I was kind of doing as a director of processing. I was working with builders and developers showing them how to make their loan packages bankable and the right spots to buy and things like that. So that was a big part of that. And I just kind of took that skill set to make my way into the development world.
Amazing, amazing. What a journey. Could you tell us a little bit about the business that you're operating now, for the people that don't really know? What does the business do? What kind of, niche are you really serving?
Absolutely. So it is land acquisition and pre-development. So we kind of do all of the leg work, as you say. We do everything. Most developers and builders, they come to me and they're just like, hey, I want to build a duplex or I want to do a subdivision. I'm going to need this amount of land. I want to build this much. So it's kind of my idea just to kind of hear their vision and then look at the areas in different demographics and find the best place for them and then start the negotiation process, complete the land acquisition process for them completely. And then I also help with bridging them with lenders and then also hiring contractors such as architects, all of the soft costs, helping them with getting the horizontal completed as far as engineers and permitting. So I help with all those phases.
Amazing, amazing. And what does your role look like at the business nowadays? Are you very much focused on business growth and, looking forward, or are you still kind of still involved in the ins and outs of the business with the team? What does a typical day look like for yourself there?
So I am focused on the team right now. Honestly, it's kind of just getting in that space where now I can start duplicating myself. And so that's where I'm at. I'm really trying to make my processes a lot smoother and to train up my employees so that they can have all the tools and they're kind of thinking like I'm thinking and they're looking at files and they can see what's needed next. So that's really my focus now. And then we're definitely growing because I'm pretty sure we'll get to start talking about the market and what's happening. But this is a big expansion time for us. So making sure that they're prepared to take on this influx that's headed our way is extremely important for me.
Amazing, exciting stuff. Well, with that, we can come nicely on to the next topic, which is industry trends. So, Des, what are some major trends or shifts in the industry that you're seeing? How do you think they're going to pan out in the next months and years to come? And how can people be prepared for these trends and shifts that are happening? What's your overall take?
That is so, that's a really good question. Actually, I mean, we all know what's happening out here with tariffs or the gossips of tariffs and
Yeah,
how those are affecting. And I don't think that, the truth behind the headlines is that we're in negotiations,
yeah,
right? None of this is actually done,
no,
stamped, everything is still up in the air, and I think that it is all for the reaction and the panic, right? Right now, I have builders who are saying, "Oh, no, I don't wanna build. We're ceasing, we're gonna stop building right now because, the price of lumber is gonna go up in Canada." Well, yeah, a lot of our lumber here in the States does come from there, but I'm in Texas and one of our biggest lumber, companies is right here in Texas where we get most of our stuff from. So it's not even affecting them. People are just kind of looking at the
fearful.
headlines and yeah, and going for it's gonna be bad. Right now, what my recommendation is while everyone is scared and there is a panic and it looks as though things are crashing, and that's when you buy land with both of your hands. That's where you're trying to buy land everywhere. So for me, I have to understand that those investors who have been in this game for a while are going to want to start buying again. They're going to want to start buying probably within the next 2 or 3 months. And they're going to want to grab some land and hold on to it so that when that cycle does change, they'll have appreciated land. Even if they just, add some small improvements to it, they'll probably be getting a really great, probably 20 to 30% return on if they're even just, doing small improvements and then flipping the land. So let alone building on it, because then that would just be great as well. But I think that that is where we're headed, and that the headlines right now are just kind of they're only scaring the small builders. The big builders are still looking. So
Absolutely. I think it's as the saying goes, if you're fearful when others are greedy, then that's the best way to go about it. Whereas if you're greedy when others are fearful, that's when you can actually take the most advantage of what's out there. So is that something you're seeing with the perhaps bigger guys that they kind of understand the market has ups and downs, but they kind of look at it on a 10-year plan or perhaps a bigger scale, whereas maybe the smaller guys are looking at very much month to month. Is that something you're seeing perhaps there?
yes, that's exactly what I'm seeing. And the bigger guys, they may slow down and they're transitioning into new markets, but right now it seems like everyone is trying to paying attention to where the market is shifting, especially with the building of new AI plants and things like that. Those jobs are going to need to be created, and areas are going to need to be populated. So they're going in areas that are a little bit rural now. Those are going to need some residential homes, condos, multifamily, multi-use. So I think that we right now it's kind of like a research season. It seems like everyone's kind of putting their head down, they're looking at the data, but I honestly think in the next couple of months the it's gonna skyrocket a little bit, and then those who are fearful now, like you just said, I think that they might be left behind a little bit, and they're gonna be trying to play catch up, and then that's when we get the smaller builders coming and then kinda oversaturating areas once because they're behind that ball. So, I think that it's how the market always is.
Yeah.
But this is honestly one of the quickest shifts I've ever seen, I mean, in my time, that from the beginning of January till now, that fear has really been serious with everyone in tariffs. So I had not seen it shift that quickly before, but I'm sure it'll change just as quickly.
Amazing. Very well said, Des. Very well said. Now, another trend I wanted to get your thoughts on is obviously this trend has blown up in the last 10, 15 years, and it's only going to get even bigger, is social media and the power of social media. So what is your overall take on social media? How do you see social media actually benefiting, businesses within the industry? And what are some ways that people can actually take advantage of the power of social media to take their business to the next level?
I think that implementing some AI tactics in social media is definitely needed. I think when you're starting off your business and you're running it as an individual, right? You need AI to be your other employee. It's gonna take multiple people, but that has really been a saving grace as far as being able to do content strategy, being able to schedule, being able to roll it out and implement it. So learning that, and then also moving from platforms, and not to discount any platform, they're all great. I've just noticed that Instagram has been more, not more so for investors, especially with the land business. They're more so for end buyers, as far as like those who are looking for single family homes and residents. I haven't really seen a great traction there, in that way. But on LinkedIn, however, I mean, it's like they're looking to collaborate with people. I think one of my best posts was me saying like, "Oh, I'm just looking for a bridge loan." And it was just like within hours, it was like 1,600 impressions. It was incredible to me. It was like, okay, this is what LinkedIn wants. If I want eyes on actual deals, or I want people to collaborate with me, or I want business, um, real business and decision makers to speak with me, then I need to be putting out my deals, and I need to be communicating more about what my business has going on this platform. So for me, it does definitely depend on what industry you're in, but for me, it is LinkedIn that seems to be the best for what it is that I'm doing.
Amazing. And to flip it on its head now, what are some problems that you're seeing with social media? What are some challenges? Sorry, go on.
Let me
Des. No problem.
sorry about
It's okay. Yeah.
sorry about that.
That's okay. We'll just pick up. So what are some, to flip it on its head now, what are some problems that you're seeing with social media? What are some pitfalls that people can perhaps look to avoid? And what are some perhaps problems or areas you've noticed, if any, with regards to social media and perhaps becoming overwhelmed with the amount of content that's out there? How can people navigate the sea and the flood, really, of social media? What's your overall takes on that?
So I kind of have similar sentiments with that as well, because I do think that on Instagram people are, and we focus a lot on it, right? Like I know that it's big around my parts and around the people that I know, and it's like if you're not there, you're not in business, right? So you do need to be on there. However, don't ex- I would say don't heavily expect like deals to get done there. There may
Yeah.
be some traction, there may be some in the land space. I'm not saying this for anybody else, because I've looked at other big land companies that are like me, and they have very little following on Instagram. Developers, they have some clout, but it doesn't really do traction much for when they're selling the houses, yes. But it just really depends on the industry. If you're selling candles, or you're selling clothes, or you're selling hair products, that's an awesome place to be. Like I say, start there. But when it comes to real estate in that industry, I think that more deals get done on LinkedIn. One thing I do agree with is I did find a social media, a gentleman, Courtney, I think Van Hook, where he is doing Facebook ads. And I think that they're really targeted. I think that they're really great. And so I found those helpful when exploring leads for people who are selling like residential infill lots. And so that I think is one of the really good waves, that's coming through, is that those Facebook ads, because they are becoming more targeted, you are able to input, email addresses that you want it to come across their profiles. Like having things like that, I think is great.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
top.
And a sub-trend now is probably something you've seen as well, and you've noticed off the back of social media, is it founder-led content? Is the owners and CEOs and founders of the companies actually turning the camera around and getting themselves out on camera and presenting themselves on social media and creating content to educate, to guide, to show themselves as an expert in the industry? Is that something you've started to perhaps play around with, or is that something you're not quite there yet in terms of getting yourself out there on social media and presenting yourself as the brand? And what's your overall take on that as a trend in social media?
I am headed to that now. I wasn't so much before. I was really focused on just kind of building, and I was so closed down, hiding under a rock, trying to get everything together and really understand the industry being out on my own. But now I'm in this new season. And so this opportunity even came right on time because I'm in this new season where I am being a bit more vocal. I am teaching. I think that that's the best way to do things is to come on and add value. And so I am just starting my YouTube channel and I am just, starting to get out there to where I'm teaching a little bit more. So you're absolutely right. I definitely agree that it's needed because people want to buy, but they want to know you personally and they want to know that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So the way to communicate that is by teaching and showing that value.
Amazing. Very well said, Des. Very well said. Now, if we come on to the next topic, which is state of the business. So, what are some areas of the business that you think are going really well and you're going strength to strength? And what are some challenges perhaps you're facing within the business? And there's some hurdles you perhaps are looking to overcome. It could be from anywhere from sales, perhaps operations. It could be even, you know, anything within the business operationally. What's going really well? What are some challenges, would you say, Des?
I think what's going really well is that we are closing deals. So that is going really well. Getting all of we've had some things in our pipeline for quite some time. And now to see them going from, pipeline to close is really good. And that just shows that the market is already starting to transition. What is difficult is navigating and explaining to people the headlines, not to be scared. This is what's really happening because I am young and I am young. I'm a woman in a majority dominated, predominantly male industry. And so I a lot of times it's like, well, what did you do? You're young. You probably haven't seen much of anything. And then, I get to tell them, like, okay, well, yes, I've been in this industry quite some time. I've seen some ups, I've seen some downs. I've studied some of the past recession errors that have happened when the bubble busted before in the housing industry. So we're also coming up even now on this 7-year balloon situation from commercial lending that was put out. And so right now, with it being the times being how it is, a lot of those unfortunately are going to be starting to own by the banks, and the banks aren't in the mortgage industry. So that's again where you say you go buying with both hands. We know that that's about to happen. Just being able to understand that where others see fear, you need to see and have solutions. So the solution strategy has just been a little bit difficult communicating.
Absolutely. Very well said. Now, on the basis of AI, you touched on AI there. What's your overall thoughts on AI? Is AI something you already started to implement in the business? And what are some ways you're taking advantage? Are you perhaps on the fence of AI and kind of waiting to see how it evolves to be able to actually, grab it with both hands? So, what's your thoughts on AI? And how do you see actually benefiting businesses in the future?
What? AI is my best friend. I mean, literally, everything from business to personal, I use AI. Some of my friends even laugh like when they look at my little side history, they're like, you talk to chat about everything. And I'm like, it knows me, it knows my voice, it knows my brand, it knows I even I found out that I'm urban chic, right? I have an urban chic tone, right? And my friend goes, "How did you even come up with that?" I was like, "I don't know." I was like thinking about my characteristics and me and chat came up with it and it works because every time I need something, it comes out with this urban chic tone and it works.
Yeah.
So I use AI for everything. I also I added actually AI services to a company that I have with my former husband. And we are actually teaching it. That company is called Helpers Hub, but we are teaching AI at senior home facilities and teaching them how to use their tablets and how to use AI with their everyday lives to do small tasks, create PowerPoints. and things like that. So I find myself proficient in AI, and then even to the point where now I'm teaching others how to use it in their business and showing them all the things that it can actually do. I think that yeah,
Amazing.
I think that that's actually where the world is shifting. I mean, it's going to become those who don't use AI and those who teach AI. And those people who teach AI and use it in their business are going to be the forerunners. And it's a wide open plane in that way. You could be white, you could be black, you could be any ethnicity, and you'll be able, it's a fair playing ground. As long as you can understand it, you know how to prompt and give directions, you'll master that skill and be able to excel for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, if you take the internet as an example, 20, 30 years ago, people thought we didn't need the internet. And how important is the internet going to be? But now it's a massive part of our lives, and businesses don't really function without it. So I think AI is on a probably similar trajectory in the next maybe even 5 years at the speed it's
Yeah.
evolving. But amazing. Really appreciate that, Des. Now, coming on to the last topic is the future. So what does the future look like for yourself, Des? If we talk maybe the next 6 to 12 months, what are some big goals on the vision board you've set for yourself? How do you want to see the business actually grow, and what does the next steps look like for yourself in the business?
So over the next 6 to 12 months, actually, I plan to be in development. I have a project that is closing now in Belmead, Texas. It's close to Waco. I also have a project that is coming back down the pipeline, affordable housing project in Los Angeles, California. And then there is also a project out in Beaumont, Texas that I am interested in. So it looks like development for me. I'm so excited about that, being able to get that experience under my belt, to be able to call myself an actual real estate developer, because it does take those experiences. And so that's the goal for me. Then also with the business of Land Scout Pro, being able to support other builders and developers with finding their land, finding their projects, doing pre-development work. I really want to, and I always tell even the people who are working with me now, I want you guys to be entrepreneurs. I want to teach them as much as I know, but I want them to to build their business inside. I think that Google has a really good framework of entrepreneurship that I've seen. And I like that concept. And I really want to be able to empower them. So the things that they do and the ideas that they have and the ventures that they want to break off and do, that this company is supporting those, and we're able to grow together.
Amazing. Very well said. Very well said. Now, lastly, what is the biggest piece of advice you've ever received, or the biggest lesson you've perhaps learned the hard way that set yourself up to be in the really successful position you're in today? Somebody's watching who's looking to get into business or take that leap. What advice would you give them?
Biggest lesson that I learned, to be okay being underestimated.
Okay.
And you don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to be defensive. You don't have to come in, guns blazing to say who you are and what you do. Oprah said in a interview that the greatest thing anyone ever did for her was underestimate her. When I heard that, it resonated with me so deeply, because I was so defensive and I was like, I know what I'm doing. I've been in this industry. I get it. And the minute that I stepped back and I just did the work and let everyone underestimate me, there kept coming opportunities to where I didn't even have to say it. People were going, you know what you're doing. I thought I was going to go around you. Like, it saved me, honestly, when people were trying to shark me and go around me and do things and deals, that they underestimated me. And I think that that was one of the biggest lessons, was actually embracing that, and putting my head down and keep grinding.
Amazing. That was very powerful. Thank you very, very, very much for that. And with that, we're coming to a close. Is there any final comments for people watching? Perhaps anyone who is tuning in, any final comments before we do wrap up? Obviously, social media and everything will be in the description, everything. But any final comments before we do wrap up?
Final comments for me is thank you so much for having me. This was such a great experience. If anyone, wants to find me, or if they're looking for some land, they're looking for a project, anywhere in the US, I am open for consultations and we can talk about that project and see how I can assist.
Amazing. Des, thank you very, very much for joining us today in the podcast. I've had an amazing time. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone watching has learned a lot. So, massive thank you to you for coming on and sharing your expertise. And I guess a massive thank you to everyone who has tuned in. So, with that, thank you very much, everyone.